Sometimes you're sitting in a group, maybe with friends, classmates, coworkers, or even family, and everyone is talking, laughing, sharing opinions, but you are quiet. Not because you have nothing to say, but because something inside you tells you to stay silent. Mind Buddy knows this feeling very well, because Mind Buddy has been that quiet face in many rooms, watching conversations move like fast trains while standing calmly on the platform. And if this feels familiar to you, you are not broken. You are not weird, and you are not alone. Because today we are gently talking about the psychology of people who stay quiet in groups. And why this quiet is often misunderstood, and why it actually says more than words ever could. So imagine Mind Buddy sitting in a group discussion, with the same simple round face and small black eyes, listening carefully, eyes moving from one speaker to another. While others may think Mind Buddy is shy, uninterested, or insecure, but inside, Mind Buddy's mind is active, noticing tones, facial expressions, pauses, and hidden emotions. Because many quiet people are observers first, speakers later. And this comes from a very human behavior where the brain chooses safety and understanding before expression. Because when we speak, we expose ourselves. And exposure means the risk of judgment, misunderstanding, or rejection. And some minds are naturally more careful with this risk. So they slow down, they listen, they wait, and they think deeply before sharing anything. And Mind Buddy has learned over time that staying quiet can feel safer than jumping into noise, especially in groups where voices overlap and attention moves quickly. And psychology tells us in very simple terms that people who stay quiet often have sensitive awareness. Their brains pick up more details, and because they notice more, they process more, and processing takes time. So while others speak instantly, quiet people are still organizing thoughts inside. Not because they are slow, but because they want to be accurate, meaningful, and real. And maybe you've noticed that when Mind Buddy finally speaks, it's usually something thoughtful. Something that makes the room pause for a second. Because quiet people don't speak to fill silence, they speak to add value. And this is something the world doesn't always reward. Because modern life loves loudness, quick opinions, and constant expression. But the human brain is not one size fits all. And Mind Buddy represents the kind of brain that values depth over volume. And there is also another gentle reason why people stay quiet in groups, and that is emotional energy. Because social interaction uses energy, especially for people who feel deeply. And when Mind Buddy sits in a group for a long time, even if everyone is nice, the mind can feel tired, because it's working overtime, reading the room, sensing moods, and adjusting behavior. And this is why after group settings, quiet people often feel drained and need time alone to recharge. Not because they hate people, but because their energy flows inward, not outward. And this inward flow makes them rich in inner worlds, thoughts, and feelings. But it also makes loud environments feel overwhelming. And if you've ever been told to speak up more, be more confident, or be more social, Mind Buddy understands how heavy those words can feel, because they imply that quiet is a problem to fix, when in reality, quiet is just a different way of being human. And there is also the psychology of trust involved. Because many quiet people don't open up easily. They first need to feel safe, respected, and understood. And until that safety is there, silence becomes a shield, not a wall. A shield that protects inner thoughts from careless reactions. And Mind Buddy has learned that not everyone deserves immediate access to your inner voice. And that's okay. And in real life, this shows up in small moments. Like being in a meeting where everyone shares ideas quickly. And you have an idea too. But you wait. Because you want to see where the conversation goes, or you want to make sure your idea fits, and by the time you're ready, the topic has changed, and you go home thinking, I should have spoken. But what the mind often forgets is that your silence wasn't emptiness, it was presence, it was listening, it was understanding. And psychology also shows us that quiet people often feel more than they show. Their emotions run deep, but they don't always express them outwardly. So when Mind Buddy feels hurt, excited, or connected, it might not look dramatic on the outside, but inside, it matters deeply. And this can lead to being misunderstood as cold or distant, when in reality, it's just a calm surface over strong feelings. And another important part is fear. Not loud fear, but quiet fear. The fear of saying the wrong thing, the fear of being judged, or the fear of being misunderstood. And this fear often comes from past experiences. Maybe times when Mind Buddy spoke up and was ignored, laughed at, or misunderstood. And the brain remembers those moments and learns to be cautious. Because the brain's main job is protection, not happiness. And staying quiet can feel like protection. And if you relate to this, there is nothing wrong with you, but there is something important to remember. And Mind Buddy reminds you gently that your voice matters, even if it's it's soft, even if it comes later, even if it comes only sometimes, because quiet people don't need to become loud to be valuable. They just need spaces where they feel safe to be heard. And you might notice that in one-on-one conversations, quiet people suddenly open up, because the pressure is gone, the noise is gone, and the connection feels real. And this shows that the quiet was never about lack of confidence. It was about comfort and trust. And as this video slowly comes to a calm end, Mind Buddy sits with you and reminds you that being quiet in groups does not mean you are invisible, weak, or unimportant. It means your mind works differently. It means you value meaning over noise. And it means you are listening in a world that rarely pauses. And if you are someone who stays quiet, be kind to yourself. You don't need to force yourself to be someone else. And if you know someone who is quiet, give them space, patience, and respect. Because behind that silence is a rich inner world waiting for the right moment. And sometimes, the quietest people have the most important things to say, when the world finally learns how to listen. If Mind Buddy's words made you feel understood, subscribe to the channel, because sometimes the quiet minds need a safe place to be heard.